All right, welcome back to the Steve Scully Unfiltered podcast. Uh, I'm just gonna jump right in. Some thoughts I've been having. So one of the other things, I was talking about Mercury, and I'm gonna keep talking about Mercury for a little bit at least, because there's more to it. There's so much to it, and I just kind of scratched the surface and touched on some things, and since then, I've listened to the podcast and had some thoughts on some things to add. So one thing that occurred to me that I didn't mention was just that Mercury is also the messenger god, and there's other traits of Mercury that are related. Let me see. Let's see. Mercury god in Roman mythology. God of financial gain, commerce, eloquence, messages, communication, including divination, travelers, boundaries, luck, trickery, and thieves. Serves as the guide of souls to the underworld. Possibly related to the Latin word mercs, merchandise, Mercury, trade, mercies, wages. Anyway, so messenger god. If it's supernova, fulfilling Judgment Day prophecies, which basically indicated that all was one, and that God is unlimited, because as I mentioned, to believe God is one individual in all of this is to say God is only that and nothing else, and it's the polar opposite. And interestingly, the symbol of the cross has become connected to Jesus, but it predates Jesus, almost as if it's happened in the past where people saw a cross in the sky, and it was like part of the things we would discover in their artifacts. The cross in places like the Celtic cross. It's all over the place. And the swastika, its history predates Nazis. There's lots of symbols that look like it's maybe like an Einstein cross of a planetary supernova. And so the cross would have a more like, it's almost like the symbol is being taken, and it's like he knows. I want to add this. Like, it's not like he doesn't like understand what he's doing by like saying the things he says, acting the way he acts and I'm speaking of Jesus, in the days that led to actually the New Testament. And one of the things is he speaks in parables. So he's like, essentially, like, why does he speak in parables? He just starts speaking in parables. And one of the things is it can be interpretable many ways. Like, what is the meaning of the parable? So there's always, and it's really fascinating, there's always the option to interpret it that it's like the only path to salvation is through him. But he never explicitly says it. He just allows it to be interpretable that way, while simultaneously saying that the only path is through God, the all, the true God. Like, for instance, he's talking about maids with candles or something, and the idea is that the one with the right way of doing things, like the right path somehow. I don't remember the parable. I should probably look it up. Parable, candles, New Testament, maybe. Candle under a bushel. No, I don't think that's it. Anyway, sorry. No. The point is, it's interpretable that it's saying through him or through God and all. Like, he even references my father. It's like he knows that he is going to be idolized as God, and the thing is, he knows he's God. So when he speaks, he's speaking truth. So his words resonate through time profoundly, to the point where they're red letter words. And they hold substance to them. Like, they don't really, it's almost like they maintain the essence of the truth more clearly than other verses. Like, the other verses are more like blurry, less like precise, because what he said was just so potent. That's my interpretation. Because, his words, he's dropping knowledge in a way where, like, there's no way to explain it except for that he did exist. Like, that shit happened on a real level. Like, that dude walked on water. All that shit happened. But what is misunderstood is what exactly happened. Just that it happened is appreciated through just the history of it all, by being such a key and central element of our society at large. But he knew that he was God. So he was able to basically, like, and that's the thing, like, I don't know. It's a scale where it's all relative. Like, someone can know themselves to be God so much so that relative to someone else, they look like God. Like, that someone else looking at them, they're like, that's God. But it's only like approaching the limit where it's like perceivable as appearing that way. But to be on the same level of consciousness with that person is to recognize that there's a infinite God, and we're all God. And much more, and much more. not to claim anything. But so anyway, back to Mercury being the messenger god. Then Venus is the goddess of love. So the masculine feminine element of Roman mythology within the planets is interesting. So there's this energy. So like 1 and 0. I mean, it's right there, 1 and 0. Like all and nothing. The two sides of nothing. The infinite and the infinite can essentially be one. It is one. All it is one. But like we can think of it as an undivided one. So like infinite is a completely divided one, whereas one is undivided. And so it's basically binary. And so like there is this masculine and feminine side to the binary, where the feminine manifests the zero side of things, the ethereal, the less like active, the more passive, because it's more subtle, the subtle energy, like of, because essentially zero nothingness is just this sea of infinite particles that are so infinitesimal, they're just nothingness in essence. Whereas the opposite end is just like one particle, just one, made of infinite particles, but it's just one system. And so it influences its surroundings, just like a body in space that's like a black hole. It's gonna influence its surroundings, and that makes it active. And so there's this active masculine like energy, kind of like positive to negative. And then there's this passive feminine energy. And even, I mean, that's even represented in sexual organs. 1, 0. I mean, it's everywhere. It's kind of crazy to think about it that way. Because there's definitely something there. Like the way nothing and everything interact is pretty in terms of like creating everything and giving birth to reality in a way. It's pretty much like that. Like very sexual. Like it's almost like nothing and everything are just getting it on. So anyway, back to Venus, goddess of love. So if it's the new Earth, because let's say Judgment Day happens, which is Mercury planetary supernova, causing Venus to then have its atmosphere stripped away, but the planet itself being protected from the heavy bombardment due to the thick atmosphere, and then being pushed into a new orbital, into the Earth's position essentially, and then rotating, maybe even having a rotation. So like the 360 versus 365 day year is interesting. Like maybe it was 360 in the before the Earth expanded. It probably was, honestly. But like that's why there's a discrepancy, because the Earth expanded and then it caused a change in the rotation rate that wasn't accounted for in like old writings. And then we're just like, they were dumb. It's 365, guys. Get it right. But so, goddess of love. So, if that happened and Earth became Mars and Venus became the new Earth, then basically it would be a passive society, because it's not all about force. Like, you do this thing, it's more about hands off. Let people do what they want. Passive. And love based in love. Goddess of love. Whereas Mars is the god of war. And so if Earth becomes like Mars because of Judgment Day, then that would be because we were at war and being active. You do this thing. You do it. Yes, I say so. It doesn't matter that I don't explain myself. It doesn't matter because I say so. And then war. Like, if that's the path we choose, then active war spirit will be what Earth becomes, like Mars. And that will be to me, that's symbolic of that. It is like that. It's in not just in the prophecies, not just in the actual observations of the planets, but also in like Roman mythology. And I find it funny. So like, I think about this. So if Mars used to be Earth, it's kind of funny that like there was a point when we lived on Mars, and then we had like such a shitty like we just made the worst decisions and we were at war. And that led to literally Judgment Day. And then we moved to a new planet that was created just like Venus becoming the new Earth. When Earth became the new Earth, when it was the new Earth, then we knew Mars was our old planet. But then we forgot. And now we're looking around like, where do we want to travel? Now that we're figuring out like who we are in this like physical world, and realize that Earth is like billions of years old based on radiometric dating that assumes constant decay rates, which I already talked about that. But so like we look at it like we've just like this has just been like this forever, and then we like have a new world where we live truly like a life, because that's like our goal. I imagine if I was like truly conscious of my oneness and just like, damn, it's just me. It's just me. Like that one is the loneliest number. And so like I'd probably want to make it like as hard as possible to like truly forget and like go live again. So like it would make sense that it's within the design of things that there's this phase when we do forget and we do live again, but then we remember, and then we go to a new planet and we live in our oneness and at peace, but like also able to be separate for a time until like maybe we just get so close that it goes back to that like, oh damn, it's just me. It's kind of depressing to think about. But so some other observations. I didn't mention this, and it's interesting. Mercury is shrinking. Like actually shrinking. Scientifically, they've recognized that the planet, its radius is literally shrinking. Weird. Going back to like planetary supernova of Mercury, which also has like 2/3 iron core, supposedly. Again, it's all based on our interpretations, but suggestive of maybe it's related to some like high buildup of pressure that is just waiting to burst free. And but it's shrinking, which is a sign of a supernova. The changing in the dimensions of a star like that. Which is interesting, like weird. Like you can, it would make sense that a planet would maybe be able to grow, like even without all those things that I say, just by like comets. Okay, it grew over time. That's all right, fine. That kind of makes some sense. But for one to like physically shrink, and it has like these areas where it's like crinkled because the land itself was compacted to cause it to basically bend over itself and just have these like ripples in the, so that's part of why they are able to tell that it is shrinking, is because of these like scars on the planet from these ripples. What else is there? Also, I just bought some podcast equipment. I'm pretty excited because I want to do mobile podcasting. I got a portable audio recording device that has 4 outputs to, what are they called? XLR, XLS, XLR. Whatever it is, microphone output, so that I can have multiple people, because if I'm going to do it mobile, it's probably because I'm doing a podcast with other people, and I can't really like bring people in here because there's just no room. And so this seems like a good solution, and then that gives me the option to, and I don't even have to necessarily podcast with it. I can even just make videos, so I'm pretty stoked. I got the audio, and I got a GoPro, an older model that was pretty cheap relatively, and but still like solid 1080p, and some lapel microphones that have the XLR, XLS. What is it? So now I got a setup. I'm already thinking now, like I want to interview people, just kind of like talk with people and have them have it be an episode where it's not just me, and just kind of throw that in there where it happens. I think I'll do one pretty soon. I should have it, all this stuff, on Monday. It's Friday now. Probably in the next month after, I can maybe try to, definitely should, maybe at Jack's I can get it done. I went over at Jack's last night. Damn. I played keyboard, Reed played drums, and Jack played bass, and I actually played keyboard. Like, I've never actually played music with people, and the few times I've messed around with keyboard just to try to like make sounds, it just hasn't sounded good. But I started just messing with the different options for sounds, and found some pretty good ones that I was able to like join in with them. It was a good time. I'm pretty stoked and excited, hoping that it's more like that in the future going forward. It felt good. I'm starting to feel like I'm like coming out of my shell in some ways. They were talking about how they want a rapper, and I rap. I think I rap. I claim to. I don't know. I write raps that don't have beats to them, so it's hard to say if I can rap to a beat. Definitely can't freestyle, which would be cool. But I like my raps. I think they're good. They're a little aggressive, but that's just me. That's just me, guys. I'm not really like that. Like really like that. I'm not. It's just like maybe I am. It's hard to say. Cause like I definitely, and I was thinking about this. I definitely hide myself around people, and then I wear like a mask, which is interesting. I'm like fucking face mask, man, no face mask, and then I go around and wear a different mask with every different person practically. It's crazy, but I mean, it's tough though. Like, how does one truly be themselves if everyone around them will think them lesser of them? You know? It's really unfortunate because it's not even like it's an accurate thing. It's just like a reactionary thing. So, anyway. But I feel good over there. It was real good. But we were talking about podcasting. I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna look what's available, and then I just bought it. I spent $800 on 4 microphones, the audio recorder, a GoPro, taxes, fucking taxes. They were like $50 of taxes, and then some GoPro accessories. It was a 50-piece GoPro, like all those like things that attach to the GoPro, like the buoy, so if you're in the water, it floats if you drop it. Fucking 50 pieces for $23 or something. I was like, alright. I mean, I looked at the comments and everyone's just like, I don't understand. They seem pretty good quality too. Like, alright. I doubt I'll use most of them. That's probably why they sell it for cheap. But I mean, some of them are pretty useful. It's like that alone probably could go for $5 at least. It's the exact same thing. Anyway, what else? Yeah, I don't know. It's what was I talking about? I was gonna say something. I can, like, it's like right there. Fuck. Whatever. It's too bad because I don't know what to say. So, like, I was gonna say something, and it would be cool if I could just, like, say the thing I was gonna say. Ah, fuck. I don't even know if I should be doing this. I keep thinking about it. I just feel like I'm like it's it's almost like planting yourself in, like, I think of like a basketball player when they're fouled on defense because they planted themselves and then the offensive player knocks them over. Like, it's because they planted themselves, though. And then more in a more physical sense, though. Like, if someone's pushing against me and I'm just standing there, I'm gonna fall over. But if I got one of my legs back opposite to the direction of force, so that I'm actually like pivoted, and if I have like some kind of like something to push against, so that I'm much more like able to counter the force, then I can actually like go the other way. Or like if I'm trying to move something like a dresser and I'm wearing socks and I'm just slipping around on the tile floor, and then I put some shoes on, it's a little better. So I mean, like, I probably should put some shoes on, like, get my life together. Essentially, and position and then like, and that's a big part of it in general. Like, I have issues with the way things are happening in this area, this relationship, and I'm thinking like a business relationship. I don't want to talk shit. Just thinking like my current job. Like, there's issues I have with the way the company functions. What the fuck was I saying? Now I just stopped on that. Oh yeah. Fuck no. Something about relationships. In reference to that, though, why was I talking about that? I'm a little high. Alright, I confess. Shit. Oh yeah, the pivoting, that's right, yeah. So, but like, I have issues, but if I want to say something, I better be a good little boy, like crossing all my T's, dotting all my I's, you know, checking the boxes so that they can't say anything. And that goes in general, That's the best course of action. And that goes for you guys regarding me. Like, I wouldn't feel like I need to blah, blah, blah so much if I looked around the world and was like, hey, things look pretty good here, guys. Good work. I'd be like, oh, this is nice. Nice. I like this place. It's a good place. It's nice being here. But if that's not how it is, you can't just be like, that's all you, man. Nothing to do with the environment. Just purely you. You. All you, dude. So besides me, like, if I were to like not be in the equation, then like this would be just good, right? Like, fucking killing kids. That's pretty good. We got a good start there. Fucking so much shit, That's just how it goes, and that's like physics. Like, if physics was right, if the shit they were teaching us in throughout school in every area of knowledge and information, because at that point it would be knowledge and not just information, which, okay, I'm not even sure it's information if it's just wrong. Misinformation. Information, which includes misinformation. Fuck, man, what was I just saying? Something about knowledge, school. Oh yeah. If it was just like good, I want to be like, hey, teach. Like, what's going on with this thing here? Because it seems like it just falls off the rails real quick. Like, like, I was going through school and it's like 2 plus 2 is 4. And I was like, that's pretty, that makes sense. I can see where that's coming from. A, B, C, D, E. You know, things are going along just fine. Started learning a little more complicated math. It's still pretty good, though, because it's like just pure and true math, just like algebra. Like it's fine, you know. But then, you know, then we start hitting where like the edges of our knowledge are. And I gotta say something, because there's some shit going on. Like, I feel like it's like a SAT or something. I'm just like testing the class. Okay. As much as I'd like to say that everything's good here, and I'm gonna go ahead and live my life, that's not the case, because this is looking like I mean, really though, this is so funny. 3 theories. How can you claim like first seed or whatever, like hold the mic? How can you hold the mic and be like, quantum mechanics, general relativity, and the Big Bang are all the truth? Nope, shut up, other people. These are the answer. We're gonna find it. It's here in these 3 separate yet somehow not separate models. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. You literally, let me explain this for a second. You don't have a model. You have 3 models. Like, and by you I mean we as a community have 3 physics models. And therefore that we as a community don't have a physics model. So how can you claim the place? It doesn't make sense, guys. Oh no. We got it. We got it. Just one more second. Dude, it's been decades. I was talking about a current finding a path, like an electric current finding a path between 2 sides, between a resistant path. Oh my god, I'm sounding like an idiot, and then I just keep sounding even more like an idiot. Like I just like exponentially made it. Anyway, so what I was trying to say is, I was saying that when like a circuit is completed between positive and negative across a resistor, because enough like oomph is put into it to make that go, the paths it will take are many, until it finds the one that it takes, and then it only goes that one. And when it goes these other many paths, these like kind of like fingers of infinity out into like all of the fractals parts, like quantum mechanics, but then all of its like intricacies, all of the different little models and how they branch off of each other, like a hierarchy or whatever, that general structure of like but they don't find the completed circuit because there's too much resistance those ways. They're not centered. They're way off center. Big part of the problem is you don't have a model. You literally don't have a model, guys. How many times am I gonna have to say that? Even though I just said that, I haven't really had that thought before. It's been a general thing, but I haven't really had that exact thought where I'm like, wait, they don't even have a fucking model, like, actually. Like, how can you argue position of, like, the model when you have no model? Because you have 3 models. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why I got started talking about that, but I just wanted to point it out. Because, I mean, like, guys. All is one. All systems function the same. So if we want to know how any system functions, we just gotta analyze all the other ones. And each one that we analyze, not all, but more, because like each one that we analyze will give us some more information, another angle of looking at the system. Essentially, exactly. Not just essentially, but exactly another angle of looking at the system. And so we can just see it like faster too. So smaller doesn't just mean smaller, it also means like it's basically like if you imagine time is measured by like the rate of orbitals. So if it orbits like a planetary rate, the time passing in that system itself is equal to as much time as passes in like an electron orbiting some amount of distance equal to it. And so if you could zoom in on that electron, it would have that same kind of structure going on where it's orbiting like a planet, but it's just on a different scale to the point where it's so rapid and it goes through like instability cycles where it planetary supernovas, it's supernovas. An excited electron is a supernova. It's just on a different scale. So there's supernovas around us all the time, literally creating the reality that we see, because when light shines on it, it then becomes excited and supernovas, and then it does so rapidly that it's like vibratory in our perception, because time dilation is basically, it's like this relative thing. It's not like general relativity time dilation is happening, even though it's like glimpsing the reality that there is this like dilation of time across the dimensions in essence, because the smaller ones, basically time is infinite. So it's not just infinite like relative to our perception, but our perception of a moment is infinite relative to some other observer's perception. So like there are observers, so like let me go into a little more detail. There are infinite particles, and they're lit bigger and smaller. This whole range, entire spectrum of sizes. And the larger they are, the less common they are, all the way up to, let's say, one particle, which is essentially not of reality because the universe is infinite, but that's like we can take that step up to the one particle, and that's kind of where we're like all is. That's just like the all, which is kind of where it becomes just like that's God. Or down to the infinitesimal, where they're so tiny that there's not just one, there's infinite, like the polar opposite. And so it goes from one to like an infinite amount. And I don't know why I did that, but I kind of liked it in my head. But why was I talking about that? Oh yeah. And so there's all these layers, there's all these particles. We are in that sea of particles, and we're just made of atoms. But what are atoms? Because we see them as atoms because we're made of them. Like within this infinite sea, you throw an observer. It doesn't matter where they are, they're going to look at the particles that they're made of, the biggest ones they're made of, as atoms. And then they're going to look at the next biggest particle as planets. And then they're going to look at the next biggest particle as stars. And the next biggest as black holes. And then smaller particles, they're going to look at like electrons and whatever else down, however they see reality, you know, and photons. And then they're going to look at even smaller particles beyond even photons, these infinitesimal relative to their perception, and they're just going to see gravity after that, which is essentially like this 0 point infinitesimal ether of infinity, an infinite amount of particles that then kind of like the speed of light. It's like a limit that's perceived to the observer, like where it creates kind of like a window of their observation, where even though it goes on forever, like gravity is this like underlying force that's observed, but even though it's emergent from just the nature of infinity being that there's infinite particles that become ether, because ether is everything. Like the earth is ether. It's just ether in someone else's perception who sees earth as such an infinitesimal part of their perception that it's like this sea of infinite particles. Because like in any amount of space, the tiniest of space, there's just this universe in it. You can zoom in forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And if you had the right means to do so, and then to also look at it from a different angle. So like you can't just look at it, zooming in on it more and more using atoms. You can't be like, oh, those particles it's releasing are basically nothingness next to the atoms that I am using to observe it, so I see nothing. Useful. Like the only way to do it would be to actually use smaller particles to observe. So like if we were made of smaller particles, at some point it becomes like, how the hell do we do stuff like that? Like actually go into like another sensory level, another dimension in essence, because that's what it is. Like at some point it's just past our perception, and then there's another layer of observers who has their completely other dimension within the same three-dimensional space, but like we don't see each other because they're just like on a different scale, literally, to the point where like there's a society that's like being born, going through its entire life cycle, and then constantly in every single location in space, an infinite amount of this of just life going on. It's just all around us all the time, so in everything that is just, we don't see it because we're made of atoms because of the physics of what's happening. But if we were to be made of smaller particles, basically what's happening is as particles get smaller, it reaches a point where a given observer just sees everything kind of as like the same thing, and the only way to like look further is to move the observer to be using a smaller particle. So then it's as if the like, even though we're looking at neutrinos, let's say, because now we're looking at it with smaller particles, it's the relative mass difference is smaller, and so it's effectively more massive to the observer. And so it's observed as if it's more massive because it is effectively more massive, because it's dependent on the observer's mass, how they see whatever the thing is. It could be an atom to us, but to them it's their star, and their entire reality is going on around them just like us, and they're completely oblivious to our existence and their infinite cosmos around them that they're observing as they go through their life cycle and all their things they're doing, just like we're completely unaware of all of the life going on around us in our tiny little pixel of space that we think of as being like huge, like billions of light years. Billions of light years across. Wow, we see so far. We see so far, guys. You know how many galaxies there are according to current science? There are, I don't know. It doesn't matter what the number is. Whatever the number is, the amount of atoms of oxygen, or just I think just atoms. I looked this up before. The amount of galaxies in the observable, claimed by current science, in the universe is equal to the number of atoms in like a cubic centimeter, or less. Like it's some ridiculous amount of space. So just think about that. Like all of everything that we see in an infinite cosmos could be like nothingness, the tiniest of space in some other observer's reality. And we're in that space, sitting there like the Big Bang. Like the universe is 13.8 billion years old, and mind you, time dilation is happening. So like eternity's passing in this tiny piece of, like, I'm frozen in space, eternity's passing. Eternity's passing in that tiny, like, amount of space. Whereas in our time, no time is passing. Like in an instant in our time, no time is passing. Eternity is passing in this tiny thing because of time dilation. And so if we think of it again as if we're in that tiny space in some other observer's reality who's frozen in time while eternity passes here, and we're thinking 13.8 billion years is long when it's an instant in their time. Could you imagine being like, if someone told you, well, the universe is an instant old? An instant, huh? It's pretty short, dude. It's pretty short, but that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying by saying 13.8 billion years. It's exactly what they're saying, because it's finite. It's not infinite. So I mean, it's zero. It's zero. That's what it means. If you really think about it, like from our perspective, okay, well, life is, 100 years or whatever we may live. And so, like, 13.8 billion years, that's a long time for the universe to have existed. But that's from our perspective. And from our scale, again, I mean, scale matters. The observer can literally be on a different scale, a fractal observer in a way, like just up in the layers. Like, I'm sure we're in some dude's balls somewhere up in the layers, like we don't know. Like, it's so deep in him, that we would never know. And then that dude is in some other dude's balls. But then, like, somewhere down the line, we're probably in some better spots. We're in all spots, actually. So we're in good spots, too. Don't worry. We're in shitty spots, like, literally shitty spots. Like, up in the order, like, way up. We're probably in some shit right now. But it's just atoms to us, which, galaxies or whatever. Black holes. Objects so massive that they're just complete and so far spaced apart that they're just beyond our observation at all. But, like, up in the layers, we're in another dimension in some tiny spot, and you never know what that spot could be in that dimension. And it's not like we're just, like, there for passing through, like, and it's okay, because then we're gonna, like, every oxygen atom has been breathed by every person in the world, or whatever they say about, every breath you take has however many atoms that Shakespeare breathed or something, that kind of thing. Like, nah. We're not moving around like that. We're stuck in that dude's balls because we're frozen in time, not to keep pardon the choice, by the way. I just think it's funny. Let's see. What's another good place to be stuck in like the dimensions above us? I mean, it's everywhere. And maybe it's like loops around itself, so like so far up in the dimensions is actually like right here. Somehow, I don't quite understand where it loops back in on itself. It only would make sense. That's how it goes. Loops back in on itself. The figure eight would only make sense. Although I just don't understand how it would loop back in on itself to go from large to small without like an end to infinity, which is another thing. Like, I sit here very confidently claiming infinity, but it may just be that it's like approximately infinity. Like, it doesn't need to be infinite, and it's kind of like a dream anyway. So it's like enough that it's appears that way. But what was I getting at? I don't know. It's getting kind of late. My voice is starting to get cracky. I'm tired. I'm about an hour in. I was thinking I'd do 2 hours if I could, because I have that much space left for the month of October on my podcast hosting site. So I should probably use it. I'd like to use it. But if I'm just going to be using it just to use it, that's kind of ridiculous. But I mean, I'm talking. What else is up? So going back to Mars. If Mars, I don't think I said this, right? I don't. No, I didn't say this. I wanted to say this. If Mars was the old Earth, and they did the same shit we were doing, they're like, "Well, look how clever we are. We're gonna hide away from all the chaos by building some underground bases." Like, if Mars has Martians, and then it's people from the past society who got stuck on Mars somehow, and then because the magnetic field was basically weakened by what was happening, which is another thing. I wonder if like the field was also like reaching a point where it was in such a equilibrium that it just wasn't producing the same like fuel to the planet, and the planet was just like kind of dying. Like, it just is the cycle of planets, and a new planet was being born from Venus to the new Earth. I know I'm crazy to be talking about this stuff as if it's just like legitimately like happening. So but anyway, but if these people built underground bases, and then they went through this Judgment Day event while underground, and then lost their protective barrier from like radioactive or radiation, I mean, maybe they could and let's say they became like eternal in their nature for at least the duration of Earth, let's say, because I mean, maybe there's people out there who've been here the whole time. And I mean, odds are there have. If all this stuff is happening, odds are there are. And I mean, I'm pretty sure there are. But if that's happening, and maybe they got eternal life kind of thing, so like they couldn't die, but they could be fucked up by that radiation they're being exposed to, and maybe they became the Greys. Wouldn't that be crazy? Like deep underground military base. Let's say that you fucked the world up, and you got an out because you're rich, and you got all the power. So what do? You build an out underground. And when all this shit hits the fan from our piss poor management of the system, when there's nukes going off and the economy is fucked and there's just chaos in the streets, there's total disorder because everyone's fighting for food and survival, and we go down to our little well-supplied, exclusive, deep underground military base to ride out the storm. Then wouldn't it be something if they just fucking got shoved out into the third position while the planet got utterly destroyed, and they were down in their dumbs being fucking dumb. I love that part. It's called dumbs. Deep underground military base. Like, clearly someone's like, you want to escape the shit you've been laying on the world? Just go ahead. We got the perfect place for you. We'll call it a dumb, you fucking dummy. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm good because I got all these outs. I figured things out. Damn, that's tough. If that happened, dude, if there are people right now who are grays because of their fucking radiation poisoning while being eternal in nature. Oh my god, dude. Just, I could see why they'd be heartless, a little pissed off at the world. Probing people. Because, I mean, they'd probably, like, gain technology enough to come here. Fuck with the world. Probably know their role in the next planet, because, I assume if someone's, like, baiting people into making poor choices that, where they get, like, eternally damned to be grays, not eternally, but throughout the like period at least of the next Earth, then those people would in the next Earth they would know exactly what to do for the next round of fuck ups. Not that you're calling them fuck ups, but like it's pretty literally what's happening. They're just destroying the economy, everything about society. Although, I might do that. That's why don't fucking do anything, guys. Don't do anything. Except, continue to do your thing. Find, well, I don't want to say don't do anything. Let me take that back. Do things that are like I was saying, like a better position for planting ourselves and holding firm in what we stand for by bettering ourselves, so that it makes it much more difficult for there to be a counter argument. Which makes me think about things like drugs. All these things that I do that I know people will judge me for. Like maybe I should take a break. That's too bad. That's too bad. All sorts of things, and it's good though. I need to. What am I talking about? I'm a fucking asshole. I need to, for sure. I need to take care of myself. I was doing it for a little bit, and I was feeling good. Now my shoulder's starting to hurt again. I'm like, fuck, man. Work's starting to pick up. But that's definitely what needs to happen. Like, if anyone's seriously is serious about doing things for the betterment of mankind and is in a position where they can like really take care of themselves, because not everyone is, and that's a shitty thing, huh? To be in a position where you just can't even take care of yourself, and all you can do is just like be a slave to the system, if anything. Like, if you're lucky. Damn. Sometimes. So anyone who's doing that is definitely helping, I'd say, And by that, I mean working on themselves. In all avenues, with recognition of our oneness, because that's important. It applies to everything, and it does give a insight into everything. And I think it's not even possible for me to let me explain things, guys. Like, it's like you gotta live with it and see it long term on your own to really appreciate it, the depth of it, of what's like, how in everything it is, the oneness the nothingness, the all. Like these like really fundamental underlying things that tie everything together are in everything, because they tie everything together. Oh, that's so interesting, Dan. Just thinking of like a string tying things together, and then like the shape of it, and I don't know. But so I don't know. I was thinking maybe at some point I need to just like take a break from this. Not yet. And work on myself. I gotta keep talking though for a bit. Like in the long term. 100% focus. It's so important. Like the difference between complete focus on an activity and kind of focusing. I don't know. Equal. Damn, it's crazy, this interaction with people I've been meeting here in Sarasota. I didn't really expect it. I got a job because I had to. And then I started meeting people because of it. No, and I've just been here long enough that it's kind of developed. And now I'm like, I'm meeting people that are like good connections, that like long-term connections I didn't really anticipate. Probably I'm just going about my life and not really. I'm such an ass. Oh, you can't do anything to better my circumstances? Well, I got better things to do right now, guys. Some weird part of life. Is that okay? I often think about like the concept of like using people and me being used, and like if it's okay. Cause I mean, like, I think yeah, no, it's not okay. It's just not okay. Me being used is okay if it's me using me. You know, in a way. And you being used is okay if it's you using you. And then again, we're all me, we're all you, we're all I, we're all M. We're all nothing and everything, whatever, whatever. It makes it weird, to have that thought be like, I gotta focus on me, but then it's like, well, who am I? Who am I, though? Am I this person? Like, is this really my boundary? Is this where my focus should lie? Because, I mean, I know I'm more than that. I know it. And I know we're more than that. And I know when I say I'm saying all of us. Even knowing, yeah, as I mentioned, people gonna call me the Antichrist. Like, dude, Even knowing that. They're not gonna fucking like it, that is for sure. When I say things like, I am everything. You're gonna be like, proof positive. There's the thing we were seeking, and let's. He's truly personifying it. It's crazy. But it's true though. I am everything. Not I like this I though. Like the I that is the true essence of who I am, which is who all of us are. No, like, fuck this dude. Like, no offense. I love you, self. Sorry, self. No, fuck this dude. Wait. I don't know how to. Anyway, but in this perspective, let's go with the fuck this dude perspective, because that angle it has value. Saying I am everything, but not this dude is like, everyone can say that. I can say it too, because it's fucking true. So don't tell me I can't fucking say it. Just well, that's what we don't know. He's the like I said, he knew what he was doing, guys. He knew exactly what would happen. The division it would bring, and it's not just division, like all of the purposes of it. The awakening it would bring, for sure. That's really what he knew. On a much more like why he was doing what he was doing and kind of thing. And I'm talking about Jesus. I don't know if I said that or if it made sense. I'm just gonna point that out in case. But he knew what he was doing. He knew people would see him as God, and then the truth would come out. And it would create that type of thing where it basically would make us fight, but not in a bad way, just in like a figuring stuff out, like a discourse. We'll say. I mean, in a very like acted out kind of way, emotional probably, in a lot. I mean, shit, an infinite way, but a discourse in us, working out our differences and coming to a agreement based on our similarities rather than those differences. But he knew what he was doing. It's crazy. It's crazy. I think another part of it is it's like it gives he gives hope, and I mean, it's almost like a safety net, so no one falls into the oblivion when the world is looking all fucked up and we just don't have answers. Like a personification of God in like someone who knows their God amongst us in a real sense, where he walked on water and things, is almost like a safety net to like keep hope in society, cuz like life's hard. And it's pretty, sometimes it's possible to feel like just giving up and like without some kind of something to keep us going. And if we just don't know that, like anyone's looking out for us, then it can kind of be overwhelming in some ways. So I would say it's a necessary step in our journey to have someone be like a stand-in God for while we like take the training wheels off and realize our true self. Not that it's wrong though. It's not. That's the thing. Like he is God. He is God. Just like saying I am everything. He is God. For sure. And there's something to that when in between Christianity and Islam, where Islam's like no, he's a person, essentially. He's a human, he's not, no, but that's taking away his godhood. He is God, but we're all God. That's again, it's caveat, it's nuance. But he is God. So I don't want to take that away by suggesting he's not, that he's less than, because he is God. In the sense that we all are. And that's just in the sense, I don't want to say in the sense, damn, I had to do it. I had to. It's like when I used to say, I'm agnostic, but I don't believe. I'm agnostic, but I don't believe. I used to be atheist, became agnostic, but I don't believe, because that was more accurate in my mind and allowed me to maintain my disbelief while pretending that I was acknowledging that I didn't know, even though I was maintaining disbelief and therefore not really acknowledging it. Same kind of thing just happened. So pardon me, I forgot what I was even talking about before then. But it happened then too. What the hell? I keep thinking about Earth lately. Expanding Earth, inner Earth. I watched a documentary on Earth today. It was pretty interesting. I like when they talk about why they think the inside of the planet is as it is. Because a lot of times I'll be like, so what you're saying is that's just what you're interpreting. Good. I'm glad that you reinforced that is just an interpretation and not like some like really like well defined and like proven fact, because it's hard to decipher sometimes what is proven in a way that's like reliable and what's just like some like repeated interpretation that's not necessarily based in anything of like true value. Like for instance, they were saying the inner core and the outer core would be made of molten iron, and in this specific documentary they added the tidbit that and the reason we think that it's made of molten iron is because it causes the electromagnetic field. It's like, well, no, it doesn't though, because the electromagnetic field is caused by the rotation of the planet and the ether flowing. And so therefore, no. But because they're not integrating physics and an understanding of it, because no one's listening to me, they're not recognizing that that's just not how magnetic fields even work at all. It's funny, and the guy's like, this works like many bar magnets moving around in the earth, but also completely different than the magnet. And it's like, wait, completely different? See, he's saying different. Different, though? Dude, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was saying something that it was like, it's different mechanically. And it's just like, nah, man. But that's the thing, like, they think there's I don't know that much about all of the specifics of geology when it comes to the inner earth, especially. Like, I mean, I know some of the reasons, like S waves and P waves and some stuff, but when it comes to like why we think the outer core is a certain material and a liquid and not a gas, because we know it's not solid, but we don't know that it's not gas, because it could be liquid or gas. We just don't know. And we can kind of guess, and maybe there's information that makes it really clear that it's not what I'm saying. I don't know. Like, really clear. But I don't. That's the thing, though, is like when they're saying stuff like, we think it's this way because we think the magnetic field is caused by the motion of this liquid iron core. It's just not true. And then they're pointing out like well, things would denser things would basically sink into the earth and go into the core. And it's like, well, that's assuming gravity is increasing, but like the further you go down, the more shit's above you, and it's just not like that. Like, there's no way they're even thinking this through. It's just is like a first glance, quick, easy to like conclude. Oh yeah, the further down, the more mass, the more pressure, yeah. But like, are you sure? Because that's not what gravity would suggest. That's all I'm saying. It's just not. Gravity just does not suggest that. In that, if you were to be at the center of the planet, there would be an equal force in all directions. Like, where is the gravity? If anything, it's pulling you outward, not in. Assuming you're like slightly off center, then you're pulled in a direction outward. And of course you'd be slightly off center because it's not like a perfectly equal in every way body. It's it's complex and all sorts of intricacies that make it different in every location, even though it'd be generally uniform. But like, so there could totally be an area of just lower pressure where it's possible to have a surface where life could grow if it had a source of energy, which comes back to, well, that's what the inner core is. That's why we have an inner core. Not because there's an outer core that is made of molten iron and there's an inner core made of whatever iron. So, I don't know. But because of the magnetic field merges at the center of the planet. That's why. And so it's possible to have a inner star that is like floating in the sky in an inner planet and has like an actual distance of separation between the two, between the surface of the inner planet and the star that's in the sky. And then it's also possible that it could be day all the time, like in Eden. It's possible that maybe a lot of the stuff in the Bible wasn't even on the outside of the earth. Maybe like Eden is inside the earth. And interestingly, relating this to, let me talk about the flood a bit. Talk about the flood a bit and its relationship to this stuff. So, like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are extinct, and that happened because of this comet that hit the Earth, right? Right? Okay. No. Let me tell you about comet impacts. Impacts. Meteor impacts. What? Impacts. They're not random. The things we call impacts, which should be random because they're impacts from the cosmos, they don't give a shit where they hit on the earth. Those things, they're not random. They're largely in Canada and Australia. Why would they be largely in Canada and Australia? Like 50% of the meteor craters on Earth are in Canada and Australia, above a certain diameter. Above a certain, like 10 kilometer diameter. Large impact craters. So large meaning older, because that was when processes were more extreme in Earth's history. And they just wouldn't be localized if they were from the cosmos. So therefore, ergo, they're not impact craters. It's really that simple. It draws into question every impact crater, including Chicxulub, the one that supposedly killed the dinosaurs. I mean, at this point, all they see is shot quartz or shattered cone, and they're like, impact, done, check, as if that's like done. Oh no, that could only happen on Earth if there was a greater than 11 magnitude earthquake. Oh, you think that's impossible? Well, yeah, it would fucking rip the Earth apart. Oh, really? It would rip the Earth apart, huh? Huh. Are there any like cracks in the Earth that are like Earth size, like covering the entire... Oh yeah, there are. Between all the continents and like down the oceans. You mean like that kind of like rip the Earth apart? Yeah. Yeah, like that kind of ripped the earth apart. Like that kind of earthquake. That can make shattered cone. That can make shock quartz. No impact. You don't know it, guys. You can't just say, oh, we found this rock and done. Check the box. Because that's what I'm seeing. I'm looking at these studies and that's what they're doing. And I've even looked at studies that are like, hey, look at how this shattered cone is all angled in like weird ways that would not be resultant of an impact, which would like all angle together. Like there's flows within the same rock that form opposite each other and have like a barrier because the flows were opposite. And it's like, the analysis shows that this makes no goddamn sense. And it's no, it's an impact, guys. It's an impact for sure. Impact. But part of the impact story requires the Earth to be old. Again, radiometric dating, not a sound method. We just cannot know the age of the Earth beyond a few thousand years. Like, we can know for sure the Earth is at least thousands of years old. After that is just, not now, at least. Maybe someday we'll get some real knowledge, but we're just guessing at this point. We can't be like, oh yeah, it's this old. Puh. 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 Fucking, we don't know, man. We just don't know. Anyway, so where'd the dinosaurs go? They got extinct. Got that asteroid. But again, lots of questions about that stuff, and therefore it draws into question dinosaurs. And let's just say there was an inner planet where life existed. Because there's all sorts of things with dinosaurs, like they couldn't have lived in this gravity, for instance. All the larger like foliage. Not only are dinosaurs bigger, like everything was bigger before the flood. And it's not like absolutely certain that these things even lived on the outside of the planet. I would say, my guess, if we got all these extinct species that just came out of nowhere and just, because that's what happened. Oh, it came out of nowhere. No, it came out of fucking nowhere. Maybe they came out of the earth. Out of the earth. Not living on the outside of the earth. That's why they're extinct. Because they're not extinct. They're not extinct. It's just they appear extinct. Because everything that's visible was fucking swept away in a flood and killed. And then all we see is these buried corpses from the flood that got covered in the mud. Covered in the sediment. And then they actually fossilized. Because fossilization is, you can't just like eat a chicken wing, throw it on the ground, and then like millions of years later it's a fossil. Like, it needs to be covered. It needs the right conditions. And how that happens is by being rapidly deposited under something by water. Water. Water's essential. Water makes mountains into volcanoes. It makes whatever the thing I was just talking about before then. Water. What was I just talking about? Damn, what the fuck? Damn, what was I talking about? Earth. Okay. Let me think. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right, dinosaurs. Okay, I found it. Dinosaurs. Okay. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff around the dinosaurs. Like the fossils are not. There's just no way a fossil is gonna be deposited through millions of years of layers. It doesn't make any sense for a fossil to be buried amongst layers that are supposedly millions of years across them. So that fossil had to be exposed as the sediment slowly filled in. Have you ever found a fossil just like, or a bone just sticking out of the ground and been like, man, that must have been just years in the making, like millennia, millions of years to bury that bone? No, because it can't happen that way, because the bone would be fucking gone. Oh shit. That's why there's all these like deposits, like places where dinosaur bones are in abundance, because they're deposits. Like, and all these dinosaurs just got swept over here. Like the mammoths that are all, they found all these mammoths that have like frozen with like food in their stomach or something. I don't know. But but they're all found in like the same location. That's another thing. Like people say. Anyway, never mind. Never. I was gonna start talking about something I didn't quite know what I was talking about, so I just won't say it. But I mean, maybe this stuff was in the earth fractured. I don't know where the fuck it came from. Maybe like an inner layer. Maybe there's all sorts of layers. There's more layers. I also wonder if there's like a layer of existence where we look not physical but more gaseous to them, and what we see as like solid is more like liquid gas to them. So like under our feet, what we call ground, a portion of it is kind of what they would see as like what we see as the sky, and their particles are so dense that in their time dilation, I don't know. I sometimes wonder if that's possible, that there's like a, even below us, like different layers of existence, where it's not just like the outer edges of the mantle on the crust and in the inner core or the outer core edge, assuming life is inside the planet like that, but also within the mantle, where that life is composed of something where it sees that mantle as like a comfortable environment and like gaseous and having a solid like layer that they live on, but it's the same experience as our experience, in their perception. I wonder, in terms of just like general experience, not like same, but like their experience of like the rainbow of colors, solid, liquid, gas, everything, like, maybe. But anyway, I would suppose that that's a big part of what's missing when it comes to the history and all these fossils, is that maybe they even came from inside the planet.
Like, we don't know that they didn't if all these things happen. That would mean, well, there could still be dinosaurs living inside the planet. And maybe we just don't know. Maybe the gravity inside there would be still different enough that it's, since they're inside the planet, I'm not sure how it would function there. It may be, since there's like gravity in both directions, it may be less than on the outside. And so maybe it's just okay that way. Still, for dinosaurs to live there. So that's a nice little train of thought. But the earth freaking fractured apart. Maybe they got swept away with the water somehow. I don't know. Brought right on through. However, this all came out of the earth, because it was probably within the earth, like in the mantle. Assuming that the outer core is gaseous, where some life forms live. then the water would have had to go probably into the mantle, and then came out of there from just intense pressure where it literally fractured the planet apart. But then how the dinosaurs would have gotten swept away in that, I don't know, since the water would have been inside, unless the whole thing flooded, and it was kind of like it just had like, I'm picturing like 2 layers of water with a middle layer of the mantle, but with openings between it. Before those openings are filled with the lava coming out of the mantle that fills it and creates the ocean floor on both sides. So maybe there's also like an equivalent ocean floor inside, in the same general location as outside. Lots of maybes, and I keep yawning. It's 1 a.m. here. So I'm gonna call it. I've ranted. Not ranted. Fuck, man. I keep. Damn it. Thanks for listening, y'all. I'll be back sooner or later. It's a new month, so probably not too long. Later.